Hello, hello. Welcome to this week's episode of the Groomer's Cut. I feel like I haven't been here in like so long, and I'm like, what am I doing?
Where is
It's been a
everybody?
rough last few weeks. So, um, welcome to everybody who is joining us for this week's episode of the Groomer's Cut. This is presented by the Pet Pro Educators and the Whole Pet Grooming Academy. And all of you know, we are the only pet industry trade school where the arts and sciences come together. So we have a different array. Chrissy actually this evening started a new class. Not a new class, but a new class of behavior. And we will be
New
starting
group of
another.
students.
Yes, we will be starting another one of those in July if you missed this chance. So now these classes are live and in person. So make sure that if you want to join in and jump in, you got to enroll and you get that one-on-one time with Chrissy, and she does a phenomenal class. We also have tonight, Chris started her class as well. So I believe she's still doing it right now. And Chris has a class that she is doing that all of our students are going to be taking called an informed professional. So it is great for new employees. It is great for managers, anybody that you want to learn a little bit more about the industry. It's a 7-hour class, and it's online with Chris, and it's really covers a lot of the seminars that she does more in depth. So really interesting stuff. We'll have her come on next week and talk a little bit more about that. So tonight looks like it's myself and Chrissy. I think that Jennifer was going to be jumping in as well. But hopefully she does, because we're talking about history.
I know
And
this is her passion project.
I mean, the history of our industry, it goes so far back, and we don't, I think we kind of take for granted that yes, we are a new industry, so to speak, but we have so much backlog. There's so much to bring forward that a lot of people just don't know about. And one thing, Chrissy, ready? Jennifer.
Yeah.
Oh, Jennifer's having some issues. Tell her we'll be right there, Bobby.
Oh
So,
no.
all right, you ready?
Yeah,
Where's your book?
ready?
Yeah, 1, 2, 3. All right. If you do not have this book, you gotta have this book. All right. So, Chrissy, I'm gonna let you talk for a minute. I'm gonna jump off and try to figure out what is going on.
All right. Okay.
And you go.
So
talk about how great this book is, because you've taught out of it also.
Yeah, I've taught out of this one too. The Lost History of the Canine Race, and it's our 15,000-year love affair with dogs by Mary Elizabeth Thurston. I really like this book. So also goes back about as far as we can go, but grooming related. Let's see, we're on like page 212 if you have the book. But they talk about complicated clips for sporting dogs first became prevalent in the Renaissance, particularly for curly-coated sheepdogs and water retrievers, now thought to be the beginning of the standard poodles. So when we start talking about like trimming and stuff, this was kind of at least documented in the Renaissance. So it was something that they were doing for sport reasons, for retrieving, but then they started stylizing it even that far back, which I think many of us are kind of surprised by. I think when I think about dog shows and dog grooming, I'm thinking like the late 1800s, but a lot of this goes even further back. And some of that goes with the dog sport itself. You know, the dog shows and purebred dogs and that whole trying to breed dogs for a purebred line that is different than breeding for purpose, breeding for herding or breeding for guarding or breeding for hunting. So, but this book is really pretty awesome, I gotta say. And before I started at the school, Dara was like, "Oh, you gotta read this book." I'm like, I have this book because it's a really good book. And I gotta say, they try to talk about every part of the world too. You know,
it goes right back from like what's it's called? The chapter 1 is even called "Leaving the Garden." So it's
Paintings and, you know, people being buried with puppies, the dead puppies being buried and stuff is part of, a funeral rite. Like this was something
yeah.
to think about. Yeah.
I'm working on Jennifer here. Has just
Working
I
on
know,
Jennifer.
right? Working on Jennifer here.
But there are a lot of theories about our history with dogs, if we get into that too. There are a lot of interesting theories about, how we even domesticated them. And I don't know if that's part of what you wanted to go into tonight or not. But, we've definitely been living with dogs as part of our lives for thousands and thousands of years. I mean, this book talks about 15,000 that's documented back, but they believe longer, which is pretty impressive.
It is. And
Yeah.
that the way that the animals were domesticated. Have you seen what was it? The movie 10,000 BC?
I'm not sure. Probably.
It's what my husband likes to call a popcorn movie. It's one of those kind of fluffy movies, but 10,000 BC, right? So the animals in that particular show and how he befriended kind of like I think if I'm getting it right, he befriended a mountain lion, cave lion kind of a thing by saving its life, and how it entwined with him later on and came back and helped in a crucial period. So, the animals started coming so far into our worlds that from being on the outskirts of the campfires, trying to snatch meat and snatch food, to guarding the perimeters and being the, what do you call that, the defense against the animals coming in.
Well, and a lot of the theories that were out there for such a long time have kind of been changed a little bit through the I don't know if you guys, I looked it up really quick, but Dmitry Belyev in Russia, he's the one who was breeding foxes for just being friendlier. And all of the things that were associated with friendliness, just choosing, this was a fox farm in a time when Russia was not allowing this sort of science. So he was like, oh, I just put these ones in, but he was breeding for friendlier to friendlier. And what they found was in about 50 years, which isn't a whole lot of generations, breeding just for friendliness created stuff like foxes that are fairly friendly, black and white, some curly tails, coat changes, barking, like a lot of
as
things that we associate with domestic dogs. Yeah.
Foxes
so
aren't they more cat-like though?
Kind of dog weasel,
It's just there. I mean, the way they play, and
they can be kind of puppyish. What they were showing is that these foxes that were bred for more tameness were definitely more dog-like, more puppy-ish. But it's interesting because it kind of took a lot of those theories and said, oh, wait a minute. Yeah. So what if there were just only the friendliest ones were surviving on the outskirts of our towns, when all of our food waste and refuse and things that we don't want, we were probably culling out the ones that weren't friendly because those were dangerous, and friendlier and friendlier. But it's an interesting theory. But if you are interested in looking up more of that, it was in the 1950s and it's still going on today. And that was a geneticist in Russia. Yeah. Yep. It's really
Katie.
Interesting stuff.
Hello.
Katie, hi.
Hi.
Katie knows a lot about this.
I do.
You got your book? We're like,
it's downstairs.
Katie probably has it memorized.
No, not lately.
What is this memorization you speak of? I can't even remember my husband's cell phone number.
It has been a week. It's been a couple months.
That's all right. Welcome back.
Hi.
So
Hi.
Chrissy was just talking about the and I don't know, I'd never heard of it, but the fox.
The foxes in the 1950s in Russia that Dmitry
Oh.
Belyaev was conducting some
Yes.
experiments, just breeding for tameness.
Yes.
Because we were talking about like
Yep.
we have theories about how dogs became our pets,
Right.
but that
Yeah.
study is still ongoing.
It
And
is. Yes. Yep.
they have the foxes that are just being bred for nice fox fur. They have
Yep.
foxes that were bred to each other for being unfriendly. Foxes that are being bred together as friendly. It's a
Yep.
very interesting study.
It's really cool. Yeah.
And they've
I
also
will
done
look that
some
up.
with like transferring ovum and stuff, so that the mother fox is definitely one of the ones that's not friendly, but her litter is from friendly lines to
Right.
see if it's nature or nurture.
Mm-hmm.
It's a fascinating study if people are interested in
Yeah.
that sort of geekery.
Sorry,
and Bobby
play with
says
my
she
life.
likes the fox experiment study. Yeah.
I
Oh,
can
yes.
see that being right up Bobby's alley.
Yeah. Brian Hare, and I know she's taken Brian Hare's course too. That's a great course, but he went and like got a chance to look at the foxes and give his opinions on it
That
too.
would be like really cool.
This must be Jennifer in
Yeah.
the chat.
Yeah.
Yep. And that
That study
piebald
is
coloring. Yeah. Black and white
Yes,
coloring. Curly tails, barking behaviors, ear carriage changes, things
Yes.
that, that, are often part of domestication, which is kind of weird.
Yes. Yeah, it is. And all
Really?
the colors change and everything with the with the
That coat
domestication.
changes and stuff are somehow linked to personality traits.
Yeah, it's fascinating how that works.
But it's one of the theories as to how these dogs became pets, because while we might not have been breeding wild dogs to friendlier wild dogs, we were probably getting rid of the dogs that were dangerous on the outskirts of our little villages and stuff.
Right.
So anything dangerous was probably being culled, just through,
Inadvertently,
social projects and trying to
Right,
keep
yeah.
everybody safe,
Right.
But it's an interesting theory. And this started in the 50s, and within about 50 years, they had genetically very different foxes.
Yeah.
So you think about like the 15,000 years that it's been documented that we've been living with dogs.
So just a question on that. So since they've been doing this study, are those considered domesticated animals, or are they still have that wild gene and are just being, are they captive? Are they, what's the dynamic of that? Are they living in the home, or?
So they do have some that they're testing out in home environments, but they were trying to keep it very much like all living in the same type of environment. So they were all still living as a fur farm. Do you know what I mean? Like that's what the original purpose for these animals was, for farming for fur coats. But I remember reading parts of some books about it, and they've definitely done some where these animals are living in home environments, and the way that they behave in home environments. They are not dogs. Probably a little bit more on the probably a little bit more like a cat, in the sense that if they got loose, they could probably fend for themselves. You know.
Yeah.
But not
Probably.
like something like a pet raccoon that you expect to eventually become an adult and decide I'm a wild animal again. It's interesting. But they are related to dogs. So foxes are related to dogs. I think they're cousins.
If I remember correctly, yes, cousins. And I think Jennifer is trying to get in, but she's
I
not.
know.
Poor
I'm
Jennifer, she's
on
like-
with her. I don't know how to get her in. I know they're driving.
I had trouble with the phone app, like using this on the phone. It just didn't work for me at all.
Yeah. I'm on my
I tried it a
iPad,
while
and that
ago.
seemed to work just fine, but I haven't tried it on my phone.
The problem with
Because-
when you do the live streams, you got it. The phone just, it's not.
Yeah.
It's not aggressive enough like
Right,
the
yeah.
computers and the.
Yeah.
Well, I think they actually don't have as many links.
Yeah.
I think it's
so,
actually like they're blocking like the sign in, probably because they realize that you can't operate it well on a phone anyway. They don't want to disappoint us.
Right.
Yeah. Sorry,
Yeah.
Jennifer. I know you have a presentation and everything.
But so I do historical reenactment, like Middle Ages type historical reenactment. And every once in a while, people will come up with really great pictures of animals and tapestries and ancient artworks and sculptures. And we have been using animals to help us for a long time. And some of those uses are really pretty neat. And I think that we think in terms of pets and dogs as just like, oh, they live in our houses and we play with them. But for a long time, all dogs were being bred for some sort of a purpose.
Right.
You know, and
Yep.
maybe that is companionship, but that was still its purpose.
Yes, exactly.
Small companion, keep fleas off of people.
Yep.
You know, guard, alert, you know, herd animals without killing them. You know, we broke into some of their hunting behaviors to do that, to have herding animals that don't actually do kill bites and consume, you know.
So why don't, you know, since I know Jennifer has a presentation, I'm just going to kind of change it up just a bit. And both of you are really big into training and the behavior part of it. Do you want to talk a little bit about the growth of the training industry?
Sure.
I mean, and that comes into working into our grooming world also, because we're training the dogs on our table as well. So it's kind of a nice intro until we get Jennifer back in here.
Yeah, if we can get Jennifer on, or I mean, if all else fails, she can presentate. Is that a thing? That's not a thing.
It is now.
Oh, that's what I was gonna say. We can have her
say we all.
We can start
It's been
it all
a
off
super
again.
Monday.
No, I saw the pictures.
Holy cow.
Well, so training in our modern sense in the United States anyway, kind of came about with training military dogs.
Yep.
So a lot of our dog training ideas came from training dogs for the military, and I believe that's World War I military style training.
Yes, I think that's what I read.
That's how I remember it anyway. But then a lot of our horse stuff comes from cavalry training, where it was acceptable to have like 1 in 10 people get killed by your horse. You know?
Yeah.
Oh, that might not belong in Pony Club of America.
So chapter 8 in our book is Dogs of War.
Yeah. Which has been going on for centuries. The Romans had dogs that they put big spiky collars on so that other dogs couldn't attack them while they went after the horses. You know, they were anti-cavalry, you know, sort of anti-tank.
Right. Yeah.
And we've been using them that way forever. But the modern dog training came about when we started trying to keep dogs in smaller areas, and they didn't really have jobs. That kind of started in the late 1800s with a dogs or pets kind of an idea.
Right. Yes. Yep.
And then military training, which was, well, they have to learn how to walk on a leash, and that kind of competition style and that heel work that's very rigid and in many ways really interesting and fun to do, but it wasn't really presented as fun at the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of that came from war dogs, because you know, when you work with a bunch of them, you know, they found there was a market. People were like, well, how do I get this dog to live in my house? How do I teach him anything?
Right. And to teach them to protect the house, you know, stuff like that, I think.
To teach Lassie to watch out for Timmy.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
In this, the first war dogs were employed under the urgement of John Penn, the Lieutenant Governor of Pennsylvania, between 1763 and 1771.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
So even further back than the 20th century.
Yep. Well, and if I can throw it out here, my dad is a Vietnam vet, and he says that a lab sniffed out a trap that they almost walked into. So That's here awesome. Because a lab sniffed out a trap and my dad didn't die, you know. But he watched how they were training the labs. It was usually the labs that were going through and like searching for traps. That was kind of their job, as well as the sentry dogs, which tended to be more German shepherds, like walking perimeters and stuff. But he has definitely some interesting stories from, you know, what they were doing and what they were teaching.
That's awesome. Yep.
Yeah. Dogs have been great use to all of us.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I should have grabbed my book, but it's downstairs.
I'm rereading this War, the Dogs of War, and it's pretty scary what we used to do and let the dogs do, especially during the Civil War.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, they
absolutely.
were weapons.
Well, yeah, and they were a Cuban bloodhound was part of a pack of 13 ill-tempered dogs owned by Captain Henry, I might say this wrong, Weirz, W-I-R-Z, at Andersonville Prison in Georgia. According to many eyewitnesses, his pack was kept for the sole purpose of recapturing Union soldiers who attempted escape.
Yeah, that sounds, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and think about the dogs that have been bred for tracking, for hunting, and some of the different training things that go with that, you know.
Because you said that was a hound, Dara?
Yeah, they called it a Cuban bloodhound. He was 150 pounds, named Spot. There's actually a picture of him in here. Oh no, this is a different dog. Jack the Union mascot. Got to read about Jack. Wow. You know, I mean, the book has so much information. You can read it like 90 times and still this was one chapter that didn't quite sink in to me the first. So you kind of lose a little bit of it.
Yeah. Well, and some of our jobs that we've had for our dogs weren't cooperative at all, which is why those terriers can be particularly challenging for people. They were not bred to look to us for information. They were bred to, from a sound sleep, hear rustling, chase it down, and fight to the death. I mean, that's what they were bred to do. And to go from 0 to 1,000 in fight mode.
Right.
And we bred that in. Meticulously bred that in. They don't look to us for instructions the way that a retriever would or a herding dog would, you know. And like some of the scent hounds, they also don't look to us for instructions. They're like, I'm on a scent. You're supposed to follow me. You know, like our beagles, they go into a trance. They follow the scent. They wake up 2 days later and go, I found the bunny. Where are you? You know,
exactly.
And we need to remember that some of these things that we've been choosing them for and selecting them for. I saw a documentary. They were talking about the way that like they train these large packs of dogs to go on like the fox hunts and stuff. And they actually pair a younger dog with an older dog. They use a coupling leash and they're just literally tied together running through the pack and learning from the other dog. So at some point, each dog has learned from a dog in the past, which is kind of fascinating.
That is. And a lot of people do that with their household of dogs is they before the older dog passes, they bring in another dog so that dog, they can learn from the older dog.
Yeah.
I hear
this
that
is the way things
lot.
are done here. This is our routine. This is what's allowed.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
For anyone interested, I just posted the link on Amazon for the Lost History of the Canine Race that were.
Sorry, I keep getting these like crazy pop-up things that are driving me crazy. So if you see,
we can't see them on our side.
But yeah, there have been a lot of jobs that were necessary that we don't even necessarily think about. You know, like the sight hounds. You know, and by choosing for a lot of these characteristics, the form followed what those characteristics are. Kind of like choosing for friendliness, the form followed with those foxes. And they turned into more floppy ears. Their coats are not great for fur coats, you know. If they were breeding them for friendly fur coat makers, that was not going to work, you know.
And they're bred to sit on your lap and keep you warm, which is why they're shaped the way they're shaped, like the Tibetan Spaniel. And that coat that is shorter on the top but longer on the bottom, so you could stick your hands under it to keep yourself warm. So they were like living water bottles, basically. Foot
warmers. A lot of those dogs want to lay on feet. How odd that's in there, you know.
Yeah.
All right, I gotta go back to the war dogs because now I'm fascinated. All right, so the First World War, Germany had 50,000 trained dogs ready for combat.
Wow.
50,000.
That is amazing.
That's a
That is also proof that, hello, everybody,
number.
you can train
and
your dog.
2,000 dogs were volunteered by their owners within the first week of the campaign hitting. Mostly Airedales, Scotch Collies, Old English Sheepdogs, and a plethora of mongrels.
Yeah, I remember reading about all the Airedales in World
They
War
went
I.
to doggy boot camps where their nerve under fire was tested. They were desensitized to sights, sounds, and smells of war by literally throwing firecrackers in their face, exploding grenades near the kennels as they slept and ate, firing machine guns and rifles overhead as the dogs traversed obstacle courses, barbed wire, interspersed and mud brigades.
There's a reason why we refer to things as bomb-proof, because there was literally part of a process. Yeah.
Any dog unable to pass these rigorous tests were granted honorable discharge and released to some. Any dog unable to pass this test was granted an honorable discharge and released to sometimes embarrassed owners.
Well,
I mean, it happens.
I have skipper keys. I'm embarrassed all the time.
Well, but part of that training that they were doing, is like it was going to be the lifestyle of some of these dogs living in Germany anyway. The constant noise, the constant, barrage of sounds, and it's interesting piece of history. I guess also in World War I trenches, they had a lot of small terriers keeping the rat population down and making food safe.
Yeah.
Keeping disease down and food safe.
Does it say what they were using the dogs for?
I'm trying to get to that. So war dogs in France, Italy, Belgium, and England were assigned to tasks best suited for their particular talents as what their breed depicted. So wolfhounds to chase down, knock enemy messengers off their bicycles. Greyhounds, whose exceptional eyesight can be detected the flicker of the rabbit's whisker, were taught to bark in alarm at the first sight of movement on the front. England's fleet, they called it a fleet of Scotch Collie sentries, were credited with saving troop water supplies from contamination of enemy spies by enemy spies.
That's very cool.
And that led to the German attempted but was failed that tried to bomb the collie kennels.
My dad was telling me about the way they were training the labs to scent out traps in Vietnam. Was they were actually teaching them to smell when you scent out the people, like when you use your nose and scent people, the diet was very different. So they were actually training them to spot people eating a certain diet, different than what the Americans were eating. And that's how they would associate, I smell something over here and I get rewarded when I smell something over here that smells like someone who doesn't smell like the people I live with.
Right.
And it was based on their diet, which was interesting because they can train that part. Like, this is someone who eats this particular diet.
Right.
And that's the way it was explained to him anyway,
That's pretty cool.
In 69, 70.
My dad was in the Vietnam War too, but he doesn't have any cool stories like that.
My dad has mostly funny stories. There are funny Vietnam stories.
Yeah.
But because he knows a little bit, he took an interest in what was going on with the dogs. He was like, so how did you teach this? Like, how did they scent out a trap? Cool. Are they sniffing out wire? Like, what are they sniffing?
Right.
And what they were sniffing for was humans who eat a different diet.
Wow, that's
so they might sometimes they sniff something out and it was just a local farmer, but it still gave you a chance to search around that area and make sure it was safe.
Yeah.
There was only one American dog in World War I.
Really?
His name was Stumpy. Stubby. Stubby reached the trenches of the front line in February 1918.
Groomer Jen is talking about they do this desensitization with Karelian bear dogs. Pups have to learn prey drive when introduced to bears, and those that cower are flunked.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Neat.
But, you know, if you're breeding your dogs for a purpose, the puppies that can't live up to that purpose are ones you don't want to breed. You know, I mean, it makes sense to be like, okay, you're in the pet now.
Yeah. There's people that I know that are in Alaska that use Karelian bear dogs because they're out in nowhere. I mean, they're literally, that's like the frontier out there still. So, yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. I'm actually not familiar with Karelian bear dogs. I've never met one, but
Yeah,
there are a lot of breeds that we don't see here at all yet.
Yeah, they look like an Akita.
I thought so.
Very similar, yeah. Yeah.
Sorry. Is my cat like really right here in the...
Just passing through.
Well, we got some Jennifer here.
Oh, Jennifer's trying to log in. This is Jennifer's passion project. It's
I know.
sad if she didn't get to join in on history.
For the last half hour to get on, so he loves this. He's like, "Hey, you're on your show.
Hi,
favorite time of day."
So cute.
He's a good boy. Yeah. Well, we're trying. She says she doesn't have good internet. They're on the road, so it's really hard when you're on the road. I know. It's really hard when you're on the road traveling.
And along with war dogs and farm dogs, I think farm dogs are pretty obvious, but we also had dogs that helped us with turn spits, things that were more about factory. You know, I mean, like they were the water wheel, really. I mean, they were turning this wheel to turn a spit, whether that be for cooking meat or for running equipment of some sort. But we've been using them in industry for a long time too. And, you know, just another whole use that I know for me, I was like, I didn't know that, you know, I mean, farm dogs, you assume, you know, ratters and herders and guard dogs all make sense, but war and like kitchen help, you know, get on the wheel and start running so that like our meat cooks evenly. But it was really common practice for some of them. Oh yeah, the book has a picture too. Yeah.
Yep, I'm just trying to find it.
And then some of the dogs used for fishing, pulling in our nets, not just retrieving. You know, I mean, the idea of Newfoundlands jumping into the water and saving people and pulling in nets. I mean, that's a big, powerful dog. That's also a water dog.
I'm doing it this morning.
Oh, we kind of hear Jennifer there.
Almost
a little bit,
Yep. Of course, when I want to find the picture, usually I open up to it right away.
You trying to find the turn spit dog?
Turn spit.
I got it. I got one similar. This is a butter churn. Let me see if I get this right. There we go.
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
And then
which may seem like it's not super helpful, but if any of you guys have ever sat around for an hour and a half or 2 hours just trying to churn butter, the idea of having a dog doing it and do some other part of your farm work is an amazing thing to have, you know. I mean, it's like it's time's version of a dishwasher, you know. Like, oh, I can go do something else, you know.
Yep.
Oh, Jennifer trying to talk.
Yeah, but I think she's talking to her husband.
You know.
Oh.
Ratters and herders and guards.
Oh, I think we're hearing ourselves back at.
Sense, but
yeah.
Oh yeah, that's my voice.
Yeah, that's you.
Oh,
I have this poodle who says, "I want to be part of the history lesson."
Facebook user says, well, Timmy was too busy falling in wells to churn butter. Is that Groomer Jen again?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But if you've ever done some of these, like, if you've ever tried to move sheep without the help of a dog, because
it's
my
hard.
agricultural
Yeah.
background and stuff, like there's a process to that, and you really have to think it through. And I think that a lot of the time, when we as humans who don't own livestock get into herding with our dogs, I think our dogs are looking at us like, I cannot believe you told me to do that, because we're all over the place. And they're like,
yeah,
if I just edge a little bit more to the right, it would have been fine. And we're trying to micromanage something that they're like, just tell me where to put them. Tell me where to put them.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, when they get that savvy, not every dog can do it. My current guys have never tried sheep, but my last girl did, but it was after like 7 years of being told we don't chase things. So, she just hung out and played with sheep.
Yep.
But, a lot of these instinct sets are things that we chose for, but they aren't necessarily great in a home.
Yeah, I did a lot of earth dog stuff. I was an earth dog. Well, I'm still an AKC earth dog judge. So I did a lot of the terriers.
That's how Katie and I met.
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
Nice.
A lot of the ratting and basically the terriers that go to ground and go in and look for the rats. And it's always been just so fascinating to me that you could take a dog that's lived in a house its entire life and show it a rat, and it's like, yep, I want to eat it. But like it's just so ingrained in their DNA, and that's just so fascinating to me. And then you have this poodle who the only thing ingrained in his DNA is that he has to be near his mother at every moment of his life.
Well,
I got a chihuahua like that.
They started off as retrievers, which has this strong feeling of like, okay, back to my handler.
Yes,
like that's part of the retrieve, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
And then we breed for prettier coats, and I think it's interesting what things stay and what things get enhanced. We do
things like dye their ears funny colors and totally embarrass them.
I think Jennifer just popped in there with groomers were grooming in France at the river in the 1500s.
Oh yeah,
way back, and
well, that's what we were saying, that they were talking about in the Renaissance. Renaissance is when they first started seeing like, hey, they wanted stylized versions of what fishermen were doing. And it's interesting.
And if you go online, you can find pictures of those drawings of those groomers by the river with the dogs. I mean, it's not anything like what we groom, the way we groom today, but that's how it all started. So yeah. It's very cool. I wish I had more, like I knew more about it and I could talk through it, but
well, and another job that we've had for a long time, that there was a documentary about it. I think it's on Amazon Prime. But wolves are back in France. Like for such a long time, there were no wolves in France, but now shepherds are having trouble with wolves, and so they were following sheep guarding dogs and how that affected these herds of sheep, these flocks of sheep rather. And they had night vision cameras on it. It was very interesting because the wolves were kind of circling. They could see with the night vision cameras, the wolves are coming by. Nervous dogs in with all the sheep started letting out an alert bark. The more brave dogs were roaming around trying to figure out what it was, and the wolves just wandered off. So ecologically, it means that they're not killing the wolves. They're not poisoning the wolves. The wolves can go off and find other prey and just choose to leave the sheep alone, which is kind of interesting. And what they were bred to do on their own, these, Pyrenees mountain dogs and like these, like all these different breeds that, but they had some really interesting night vision footage and collar cams with like, you could see what the dog's point of view was. Yeah.
Neat.
I think it was I forget what it was called, darn it, but I think it was on Amazon Prime, because I'm a huge geek and I watch documentaries for fun.
Yeah, and I would too if I had any control over my television, but
take charge.
My husband works from home.
Oh no.
I think, it looks like Jennifer said that they used egg yolks for cleanser. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think it said something in here about they'd have the dogs swim out and swim back to rinse them off.
Yeah.
What it said in here?
And they'd keep them submerged in the water for an extended period of time to kill the parasites.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
very cool.
Yeah, I remember my parents were talking to me about leash laws, and before leash laws, my parents both grew up in a town outside of Boston, so they were still in a city, but before leash laws and stuff, where dogs would occasionally just get together and start causing trouble,
Mm-hmm.
and because there was nothing much to do, they don't have kids, but if they didn't have their kids of their own to watch, they would kind of get together and start causing trouble. But most of the dogs had kids that they were watching. They would just follow around. And my dad said that, their dogs would follow them to the park all the time. And, nobody approached them at the park or did anything scary at the park because those kids had dogs with them. It was interesting. Just a couple generations ago that
even
that was
when
the
I
norm.
was a kid, my lab that I grew up with, he was never leashed or tied or fenced in or anything. And he followed us around all the time. I mean, I'm in the woods, but we'd go off and build forts and stuff, and he was always right there with us the whole time. So, yeah.
Wow. Yeah, they were in the city. I'm like, dogs never got hit by the train. They're like, dogs are smart about the train. I'm like, really? 'Cause the train went through that neighborhood. Like, really? They just like, oh, well, I mean, it's pretty obvious it's a train. I think we just don't think about dogs being that smart.
Neat.
But from the turn of the century, they taught to singe Bedlington Terriers with a candle.
Wow.
That's kind of scary.
That is a little scary. Holy cow.
For what purpose?
I wonder if maybe that was how they did the haircut. Because, I mean, if you think about it, it would work. It's terrifying. But I am not that good.
Flamethrower trims. We're offering it now.
Let's not talk about that. I mean, I've seen they're doing these fancy haircuts with those nowadays, but
I've seen that.
Let's not do that to our dogs anymore.
No.
We're a little more
I'd like to think we're a little more evolved than that now.
I don't even like the smell.
Oh, she said it was in Learn to Groom Dogs.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Huh. Neat.
Well,
somewhere I have a really old grooming book.
Yeah. I was going to say, at some point, they were trimming dogs with just the shears they were using for shearing sheep.
I know.
Which are those large, they're basically large scissors.
Yeah. And they just, terrifying.
I got a chance to shear a sheep with those. That was kind of interesting.
Did you?
Yeah. I'm a history junkie, so it was neat.
I sheared, my best friend has sheep, and they couldn't get a shearer out during COVID, so I went up and sheared their sheep. Never again.
How'd that go on your clippers?
I didn't use. She had sheep shearing clippers, but she had
the sheep
like
ones,
from
with
Amazon,
the big teeth,
so they weren't great. But I have. You can't. I don't know if you can see it. This permanent scar now from the clippers, because the last sheep that we did kicked and hit the clippers into my arm, and those those blades are terrifying. It's a skip tooth times like a million.
Yeah.
Look at this. A Pomeranian.
Oh, yeah, and the lion clip.
That was one of the clips they did the most. And this was
That's what,
1890.
Yeah.
Wow.
Huh. Yeah.
And the one next to it, toy dog with a lion clip and ribbon in its hair, 1870.
Yeah, they got super into the lion clips on everything for a while. There's another picture in there of a German Shepherd shaved down in the 20s.
How about here's a corded English poodle.
Yeah.
Oh, that is very cool. I'm gonna have to show that one to Annalisa.
And even then, there were people saying like, you shouldn't be doing this to dogs.
Yeah.
You're dolling them up like they're little girls and prancing them around with ribbons and let them be a dog. And that's what people say now when we do color, or or the don't poodle my doodle, and they just want something more rustic, more natural. Yeah.
Hold on, I am looking for the sheep shears. I don't think they're in here. I don't think they're in this book.
They just look like
Yeah, I don't
it's
know.
like a big pair of scissors with a big spring.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. They look like pruning shears.
Yes. But
Yeah,
exactly.
more like a gardening implement.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah,
All right. So
Yeah.
I am
and they're
gonna.
neat. But yeah. Oh, Jennifer, she's at the rest.
Ah.
Gave up on the rest area Wi-Fi. Sorry,
You can do your
Jennifer.
presentation next week, Jennifer.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Pre-record
It's not like we're
it.
not
and we
gonna
can
be
put it up
here
no matter
again.
when. Pre-record it.
Yeah.
We can put it up whenever.
Yeah.
So this book, the link I posted for this book, the actual price of it is like $67. I found it at Goodwill for $2.99.
Wow. Now, see,
I don't even
when
know where I got
mine
it.
wasn't. I bought mine from Amazon, and it wasn't $67.
I just posted the link. I'll do the history
Yeah.
lesson
Huh.
next week. Yeah,
It must
Jennifer
have
will do
gone up.
this.
Yes, has everything, but
Is there
Yeah.
a Kindle version? I'm big on like just
Oh,
getting a
me too,
digital
totally.
version. Yeah.
Wow, I don't know,
Yeah.
but I went really.
I
good.
don't think
Sometimes
there
a
was,
Kindle
'cause
version is lot less expensive.
yeah, and I don't think,
Yeah.
but I don't think there was because I ended up having.
Mhm.
I bought the actual book, and
Ah,
usually I'll do the Kindle if I can, but I love the Kindle because you can search the book and find terms, and it's wonderful.
yeah. Yeah.
Doesn't show a Kindle version.
Bobby bought a used one for $2. Oh, nice.
Wow, very nice.
All right,
Yeah,
did you just
savvy
get
shopping.
it, Bobby? Because yeah, there you go for $1.99.
she said-
All right, perfect.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, Restream is fussy about phones.
Yep.
Mm.
I see it used for
Yeah.
$11.57 on here.
So she must have bought the last $1.99, but
Yeah.
good for
Bobby got the
her
last
though.
$1.99.
Good for you, Bob.
Yeah.
There's another there's a hardback version of it, which is 1998, but there's only one left. Oh, but in that you can get there are 63 used offers.
Oh, very cool.
There you go.
Nice.
So $5-6 you can get them. It's a different version, but it must be the same. Actually, it looks really cool. It's just a year difference.
Neat. Oh. None of that.
I know, right? Don't start yawning.
Because then we're all going to start.
And the history of our profession is really interesting too. I see
Yes,
that Jennifer's writing
absolutely.
that. You know.
Yes.
Yeah.
We'll get to it. We had to.
Yeah.
We kind of had a lead in, and
Yeah. The history of our pet ownership first, and
Yeah.
because I mean, our industry's history is interesting too.
Absolutely.
Even the part that I've lived through, which isn't a whole lot, but the changes I've seen.
Yeah.
Like holy cow.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And I've
Yeah.
only been in it not as long as the two of you, and it's changed a lot even in the 25 years I've been doing it. So yeah.
When I started working with dogs, I was working at a boarding kennel. I was 14. It was before I was a pressure bather and working at a boarding kennel, but that was in 86. But that place, that old grooming room, was probably from the 60s.
Yeah.
Right. Drain on the floor. Our crates were repurposed kitchen cabinets. So inside the kitchen cabinets was like linoleum, and the cabinet doors had like framed out like wire mesh to have air circulation,
Like
and
chicken wire almost. Yeah.
stronger than chicken wire, but like this was, and that's what all of our crates were in there, was this kind of repurposed kitchen cabinets, which now you look at and go, wait, you can do that? Drains on the floor. We didn't have grooming arms at that shop, but what they had was like a tie off at the ceiling with like a chain that went down, and you'd tie a safety loop into your grooming leash and tie a safety loop, and then just pop it if the dog.
Right.
For the longest time, because I learned that way. So for the longest time, like grooming arms were just frustrating. I'm like, dude, I'm working around this thing.
Yeah.
It's so weird to get used to.
Grooming with arms.
I know, right? It was so weird
I
to get used
hate
to.
grooming with arms.
Now, if I get frustrated by a grooming arm, I know I just need a snack.
I just take it off.
You need some peanut butter crackers and
Yeah.
take a break.
Yeah. Have a Snickers.
Yeah, exactly. You're not yourself when you're hungry.
Prissy, that is true. I've seen that.
Oh, right?
Dara, I'm gonna call. I've seen it with you too. So
at least I recognize in myself, like, I'm getting a little grumpy. I think I need some food.
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah. Oh, God, I got a cattail in my computer again.
Of course you do.
I don't even know what I'm gonna look.
But yeah, even just in that amount of time, you know, like
the bunny.
the stuff has changed so much, you know.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You know. I never dealt with the A2 clippers. I never had to change blades with a screwdriver. I always had the A5s.
I didn't either. Yeah.
The old Oster Golden A5s with the vents on the sides and the brushes
and it would blow the hair up into your face.
It would blow the hair into your face. And you needed the leather holster because to help with the vibration and the heat of that big, huge brick.
They got so hot. Yes.
They got so hot. Yep. Yep.
I don't miss that.
You know? Like,
at all.
You know, you had like, you know, I don't know about you guys, but generally there was like an 8-inch shear. Maybe a curved, you know. You can have a bunch of them, but there weren't a lot of options.
The only thing the place had that I started at was a 10-inch straight, and I was supposed to do poodles, and I'm like, okay, well, so I learned to make curves with straight shears. So, I mean, you got to do what you got to do.
Dogs. Wait, I'm going over to the chat room here. All right,
I was going to say the internet changed
going
everything.
On with Jennifer. Dogs and how to groom them on Amazon. Okay, wait, I'm going for it to post it because is this something we need to add, especially just so we can all see that?
I don't know. If you do, I might end up buying it because I love books.
I do too.
So many books.
Yes, I love books.
So many books.
All right, let me just see here. Dogs by Hillary. Is it Harmar? That's what I'm seeing, but I'm seeing Dogs with Margaret Rothy Sheldon and Barbara Lockwood. This is 1968. So I've got two different ones. So whichever one you just bought, let me know. Is it the, I'm going to go back here. Is it Hillary or Margaret? Because I don't see either one for sale. Oh, yep, they are. Okay. Other sellers, $5. There you go. You know what? I'm just going to post them both. How's that? Because why not? If you love books as much as us, you'll appreciate it and buy it.
Right?
And add it to your collection. Just
because. It's nice to have collections.
And I guess who's adding it to the cart?
I just found it on Thrift Books. I just found it for $4.39.
Which one?
Oh,
Percy. Which one, Katie?
Can you see what I'm putting up?
Hold on.
Blurry.
Oh, that one. Okay, that's the
Hillary Hamar.
Yep, I'm looking at that one on Amazon. I see it. It's here for $13.
Yeah.
I'm fine with. I'll pay $13 for an old book like that.
Yeah, Shirley Calstone's book. Yep.
Sam Cole did write the first big. I think that's the first. Might be the first one I had. I had one in hardcover. I might still have it somewhere, but who knows? And that was the first book I ever opened as far as grooming. And now I can imagine that if I opened it, it would be like, wow, did I really do some of this stuff? But, you know, it's what I had at the time.
Yeah.
And it was like a long time ago.
Well, and there's still trends in grooming too. So sometimes it's like, wow, that was totally the way we would go with Bichon Head then.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, exactly. And poodles, because poodles go through ups and downs and it changes all the time. So
oh god, yeah.
What about Poodle Clipping and Grooming, the International Reference Book?
Ooh.
Ooh.
Dara, you're spending my money.
I know,
Oh,
right?
there's two. There's the complete poodle clipping and grooming book. That one's
Did I
Shirley
show you guys
Calstone.
the one I have from the old Clipper guide from Oster that I have?
Yes. Yes.
Oh, it's the coolest thing. I found it at a flea market.
Yeah. And stuff like that is so neat. I mean, this has
Yeah.
been a topic for a long time, but for many of
Right.
us, I'll say before the internet, it was so much harder to find out what was out there.
Oh,
you know?
absolutely. The
So up
internet's
here,
changed it a million.
yeah, up here in Maston, New Hampshire, we had New England Serum Company, which went on
Yes.
to become Pet
Yep.
Edge.
Went on to be
So
Pet
there was
Edge,
like, basically like we had their catalog
Yep.
and whatever things they could drum
Yeah.
up, and you could, drive out to Topsfield and, test some shears.
Yep. Or
but,
Topsfield or the Big E. Yep.
oh,
You could go to the The Big E
Never
had
went
a
out to
lot
the
of
Big E.
a lot out in Springfield, Mass. There was dog shows there quite often, and
There
that's
still
where I
are,
got
yeah.
that's where I got
Yeah.
my start was dog shows, and then
Just for you, Katie, the poodle book, just in case you want to buy it.
Whoa.
Dara.
It's the
I want that
International Reference Guide. Come on, Katie. How can
Yes.
you not want to buy that one?
Oh my God, I remember studying that one.
Harrison's gonna have 8,000 different haircuts from centuries ago.
I know, right? I remember trying to memorize all of the various styles in that book for my certification.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
All right,
yeah.
here's the last one. This is the poodle guide, I think, unless there's a different one, but the only Shirley Calstone I could find is the complete poodle clipping and grooming.
Jennifer,
And
I think it's Jennifer saying she came to grooming from the dog show world as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's where I got my start. I started going to dog shows with a friend who is now going to own a t-shirt that says it's all my fault, but we haven't, because it kind of is. And then grooming at dog shows, and then showing dogs, and then training for obedience and doing obedience competitions. And then suddenly I was at a doggy daycare, and it just has snowballed from there to the insanity that is now my life. But I
still love dog shows.
So.
I love dog shows.
Oh, dog shows are so much.
They're a lot of fun.
I had
Chloe, you guys are crazy.
Okay, well, I don't show them. I go and I watch. Now, fly ball's crazy. I do fly ball. Fly ball's a lot of fun and a lot of crazy. Which is a sport for a lot of these dogs that don't have a job anymore.
Yes,
exactly. That we do have some weird jobs out there for them now.
Yeah. Oh, grooming helped pay for a dog show habit. Yep, I can totally see that. Yep.
Hey, grooming is paying for a horse addiction.
See, there you go. Yep.
It goes both ways, and horses and dogs go hand in hand.
Yeah.
All the way around. I was just out this past weekend, and Dara, if we're crazy, how does it? Okay.
All right.
Wait, we're touche.
Dog shows are expensive, but horses are so much more expensive.
Oh God, I love those creatures.
I like visiting with them.
You know what? I go vacation. What's vacation?
What's vacation?
Vacation is going to see your horses.
Vacation is now going to see. I said it's my beach.
There you go. Yep.
There you go.
That works.
Yep. So, well,
but dog shows have changed a lot too. The dog shows used to be, much smaller kind of affairs, and then breaking them out into different groups, and there's a lot of interesting history with the dog shows too.
Oh yes.
And then all the fads, which really helped drive dog grooming.
Yes,
it did.
Fads and haircut fads really helped, make people go, I want that. Which is what the doodle craze is right now. I want that. I like that look. I want that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Have you ever been to the Louisville Dog Show?
Mm-mm.
It's in March in Louisville. And it's like the vendors at the Louisville Dog Show are fantastic. It is all like geared towards the general public coming in.
Oh, neat.
And they've gotten a lot larger now. And from, if I remember correctly, and you guys dog show people, you'll know it used to be the largest dog show in the country.
That sounds
and
right to me.
It's, I want to say it's like 5 or 6 days now. And they
Very
have
cool.
two different 2 days, and a best in show, 2 days, best in show, 2 days, because it's like 3 or 4 different kennel clubs that are hosting different shows through the week at the venue.
Yeah.
And
I remember
it is
my
crazy
friend
how
that
big it is.
my friend that used to be, well, she's since passed away, but my friend that was a professional handler, I have a recollection of her telling me about taking dogs to that show.
Yeah.
She used to go all over the country.
Frequent that. And actually Latifa, who's animal communication, she does a vendor booth there and does
neat.
Well. She also does it at the Lexington Dog Show also, which is hosted at the Kentucky Horse Park.
I know, right?
I know.
Field trip.
Come on, Katie,
the
let's
Global
go.
Dog Show is in March, and it's a cool show.
Nice.
So before Derby, so you don't have to worry about high expenses there either, because it's easy to get to.
Cool.
All right, so I'm going to throw this out there. Have you ever been to a cat show?
Yes, that was really
have not,
neat.
But I would love to.
Because the cat show was
crazy. You think?
It reminded me of it reminded me a little bit of showing chickens. It's like a little bit like when they show chickens and like, you know, agricultural stuff.
Don't touch my cat. Don't look at my cat. Yep. Don't breathe on my cat.
I don't know, because I went to a cat show and I was asking them questions, and they were giving me like, they were telling me like how they got like the greasy stud tail off, and I got some great grooming tips from the cat show people. They were so nice, but I wasn't trying to pet their cat.
Another field trip.
You can't touch the cat. I don't know where there's a cat show around. There is a documentary.
They have them in cages, and then they take them out of the cage and put them on the judging table. Yep. And they like use toys and stuff to lure them up to see how tall they are and how big they are, and hold them up and check them over and put them back in a cage. And then out comes the next one.
There used to be a Persian breeder in Ringe. I wonder if she's still there.
The running of the bulldogs at Emerald Downs. Yeah, they do that. Somebody else does the dachshunds are done at a show.
I watched the dachshund one on like YouTube or something. It was so damn cute.
Canterbury Park. Yes, there's another one. Yeah,
so cute.
Or is that like the Jack Russell Terrier races where they put muzzles on them and just send them over a bunch of hurdles? And
no, they bring out like the pets. It's just pets. It's really
pets.
It's fun. Yeah. Yeah. You just Google dog races.
Neat.
Maybe just or pet dog races. You probably you know, it's not the greyhounds, but was it you, Chrissy, that posted the greyhound that they were training on lure and the cat ran and all the dogs were
yes. Yeah, Jennifer posted that one. Yeah.
That was
they were
great.
Like, off we go. Can't fool us. We not. Yeah. Fences don't matter. Purpose bred.
Yep.
We're chasing just to chase. We don't care what it is.
Yeah. I mean, it was a living creature. They were like, what? You
could
see all of their faces
cat.
like, oh shit, dog.
Yeah.
And a couple of them took a couple strides to get back on because they were like, wait, what? It was pretty funny. Yeah. My chihuahuas do nothing. They sit on my lap and look cute all day, and my cat struts in front of the computer screen.
My Skipperkeys bark.
You know, my dogs are a lot quieter here.
Well, yeah.
They are like, but I'm home all the time. It's great.
Well, that too.
There you go.
I'm sure Ellie's loving that.
If I could show you, I'd have to take it, but she's got her princess prima donna white big fluffy bed with a blanket right next to me here on the floor, and she just gazes at me, and I'm like, yep, worship me, honey.
You know, you think about like the modern lifestyle. You think about the modern lifestyle that these dogs lead. Like my dogs, I've been teaching them that if I'm wearing the headset, it means that we can't talk right now. I'm doing something, right? So the headset has become the like, okay, you can come over and say hi and now go, because the headset's on. If I were just talking at my computer, they might not get it.
Right.
But I just decided, I'm like, well, we'll make that a big visual cue.
Yes.
But how many of our dogs are living in this weird world where humans just stare at bricks?
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
animatedly talk at inanimate objects, and like the things that we expect them to understand. It's a very weird world right now for our
especially
pets.
for people like me that are older and we didn't like my first set of skipper keys didn't have a clue. I mean, there was a lot of training, and we did a lot of training outside, and we spent a lot of time just working and doing other things because there was no internet. There were video games, but not like now, like where you can just pick up your phone and play a game and stuff like that. And so I was thinking about it, and I was like, the dogs that I have now don't know half the things my other dogs knew, because I don't have the time, because I'm too busy Facebook, Instagram, whatever,
businessing,
trying to keep up with
all your business stuff. Yeah.
They really do. It is, and mine have settled into it, but they're also older.
Yeah.
So I think having a puppy at this stage would not be good because of all of that. And now that they're older, they're content to just sit and be. But, all right, ladies, we have gone over. This went really well. I know we didn't kind of got off topic, but try to stay on topic. We are talking history here. It is going. We'll be all back on next week and it's going to be a good month. It takes us a little bit to get rolling. And thank you for sharing the bulldog, the running of the bulldogs.
Yeah.
So
that's to check that out.
Yep. And I'm surprised nobody was doing the corgis in honor of the Queen's Jubilee the last few days. Yep.
You would think.
But I'm sure I saw so many corgis this past weekend. It was like, corgis are everywhere. Corgis and Jack Russells. Yeah. All over the thoroughbred farms.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I can see that.
And Westminster, when that's usually in February. I know it's later because they're doing it outside.
Yeah.
But Lee and I, our favorite show to watch, our favorite movie to watch around February is always Best in Show.
Best in Show. That is such a good movie.
It's a great show.
Oh, they did that so well.
It was so good.
Everyone loves a terrier.
With its cute little terrier. Yep. Yep. Cookie, is that you?
If you haven't seen the movie Best in Show,
you gotta watch it.
It's pretty hilarious.
Yep. Actually, that should be your homework for this week. If you haven't watched it, your homework should be to watch
cinematic history as well as grooming history and dog show history.
Yes, there's a little bit of everything.
A little bit of everything.
And have your dog study YouTube videos. That's all you gotta do, Katie.
Harrison would totally do that.
Well, he doesn't know he's a dog.
He has no clue that he's a dog. No clue.
Yeah, he cares. He's always thought he was a human.
He thinks he's a person in a poodle suit.
Well, you should get him a human costume for Halloween.
I should. You're right.
He could be like Peter Pan. No, Pinocchio. Always wants to be a little boy.
Trying to be a real boy.
Oh my God, I'm so gonna do that.
All right, Geppetto.
Yes, Best in Show.
Yeah, scarily close. Yeah,
it's hysterical.
For years, yes.
And you really got to watch it with somebody who has a sense of humor, because otherwise you're gonna be like, "What is wrong with these people for watching this?"
But it's so. She's right. It's so close to what it is in real life. It's
so close.
it's so
Yep.
close.
Yep. Go
They
get
did a
that
great
busy
job.
bee.
Yes, busy bee.
My husband calls us all the bee people.
The bee people?
Yeah.
Because
you
of
and all
that?
your bee people, especially in fly ball. He's like,
Oh.
yay,
see
every
that.
time.
Yep.
But it's really good boy. You know?
Yes, we are like that in rally too.
Yep. Rally too.
Yep.
Except it's a quieter version. You go outside. You're
A
like,
little bit, yeah.
"Yay!"
Well, not me. I'm not quiet. And then I'm like, wait a minute. And I just get laughed at. But that's okay. I don't care. My dog is
shouldn't.
happy. That's what matters.
Your dog is happy. Because Rally is a little more low-keyed than
It is, but I am not quiet. That's one thing that when I first started training dogs, my trainer was like, you have to be woohoo, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, and so now it's stuck. And I'm crazy, so it's okay.
There you go.
do it.
I was doing it
Do
in the lobby at daycare the other day.
All right. Well, that I am going to wrap us up. So
Okay.
This was a fun show. Thank you, ladies, for joining me this evening and taking your time. It is always a pleasure being on with you, and glad we're all back again. So
yes, I'm glad to be back.
We will see everyone next week, and Jennifer will start us off and kick us in the pants and get us going with the history of grooming. You're welcome. So we will see everyone next week. Stay tuned and have a great week.
Yes. Good night, everybody.
And
Good night. Bye.
Oh, I know. I'm going. Hold on. Oh my gosh. I'm in chats. I like our little ending, and I got some work to do.